Welcome back, everybody. And this is part 2 in our series on the impact of maladies on physical health. It's me, Dr. Siddian Brady-Brown, and it's my pleasure to continue sharing with you on this interesting topic because there is no health without mental health. And so for that reason, we're going to go on and we're going to now look at the impact of mental maladies or mental ill health on our physical health. Now, the truth is that there are multiple associations made between mental health and chronic physical conditions or illnesses that significantly impact people's quality of life. And the associations is kind of like the chicken and the egg. Sometimes you're not sure what exactly comes first, or there are scenarios where one comes first and the other comes next. For example, poor mental health is a known risk factor for chronic physical conditions. And on the other hand, people with chronic physical conditions are at high risk for developing poor mental health. Research has shown that people with a mental health problem are more likely to have a preventable physical health condition. And the reasons are many and varied, some of which we will get into. The truth, however, is that there is no known direct pathway between mental and physical health. But we know that with poor mental health, persons suffer from low motivation. And low motivation may be caused by a mental illness or by medication, and it can affect somebody's energy or their motivation to take care of themselves, resulting in a chronic, preventable physical illness or condition. Oftentimes, we find a lack of support to change unhealthy behaviors may also result in chronic illnesses. And patients who are having poor mental health are less likely to seek medical help for other conditions because they're not always supported or they're not always in the best position to make these decisions for themselves. Now, the truth is that mental health problems can come with physical symptoms, and this too can make it tricky. Our bodies and minds are not separate, and so it's not surprising that mental ill health can affect our physical body. For example, depression can present with headaches, fatigue, you can have digestive problems. Anxiety, for example, can create an upset stomach. Other symptoms that may come along with it could include insomnia, restlessness, difficulty concentrating. So as such, physical health and mental health and physical symptoms can be intertwined, and sometimes the distinction can be difficult to make. The truth is that mental illnesses can affect almost every physiological function of the human body. We can feel fatigued. We can have increased risk of Alzheimer's. It can result in premature aging. Patients can have breathing problems because of mental conditions. You may have circulatory illnesses, hormone imbalances, high blood sugar levels, stomach aches, weakened immune system, menstrual irregularities for women. There's increased risk of stroke because of the associated stress with these conditions. You can have autoimmune disease, obesity, increased risk of asthma and cancer, acid reflux, high blood pressure. They're all intertwined. Even men have reported that with certain mental conditions, they suffer from erectile dysfunction. So many different physiological conditions in our body are affected by the state of our mental health. Let's take, for example, our hearts. Did you know that long-term ongoing stress, such as that caused by depression or anxiety, can increase your risk for hypertension, which is high blood pressure, and as such increase your risk for heart attack and stroke? Repeated acute stress or persistent chronic stress, such as that which occurs with some of these mental illnesses, will contribute to inflammation in the circulatory system. And then this sets up a kind of cascade that leads to blockage in our arteries and may ultimately lead to heart attack, for example, or increase our risk of stroke. The risk for heart disease has been found to differ slightly between women and men as well, especially in women as we approach menopausal ages because we've lost the protective estrogen mechanism that increases our risk for having negative cardiovascular events because of stressful life situations. So postmenopausal women, because of this loss of protection, are at greater risk for the effects of stress on the heart and resulting heart disease. The respiratory system. Anxiety can present with respiratory symptoms such as shortness of breath and rapid breathing. This is related to the release of the stress hormones adrenaline and cortisol. Psychological stressors can also exacerbate or worsen breathing problems and can be very problematic for patients with asthma, for example, because an anxiety attack can induce an asthmatic attack, a legitimate asthmatic attack, or persons who suffer from COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Their conditions can be worsened because of mental stressors or mental illnesses. In the musculoskeletal system, muscle tension is almost a reflex reaction to stressors. It's the body's way of trying to guard against injury and pain, and we can probably all attest to that. Chronic stress, for example, that which occurs with depression, you can be felt as aches in the muscle, right? Because the muscle or the body is in a constant state of guardedness and tension because of the stressors. Most of us can relate that with acute stress, we get neck pain, we get shoulder pain, upper back pain, we feel tight, and the tension is very obvious just because of an acute stressor. Now, can you imagine somebody who has a mental illness that is in a chronic state of stress? Then they may continue to experience these types of symptoms. They may also present with migraines or tension headaches as a result of the muscle tension, musculoskeletal pain that presents as a lower back pain or upper back pain, or pain in the thighs, for example, or other ways that it can present. For the digestive system, stressors can affect your brain-gut communication, and this can lead to pain and bloating and discomfort and diarrhea, sometimes constipation. And we can relate because we've known of situations of persons who have been in acute stress that have lost their ability to maintain or to hold their bowels, for example. Now, in a chronic state of stress, you find that these persons tend to have digestive issues, which may be associated with recurrent diarrhea or frequent diarrhea or constipation, to name a few. Noting also that mental illnesses can affect how we eat and what we eat, and this too can place us at increased risk for digestive symptoms. And poor coping mechanisms in the presence of mental illness, for example, increased alcohol consumption and tobacco smoking, can worsen conditions such as acid reflux resulting in heartburn. Patients with chronic bowel disorders such as inflammatory bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome are especially negatively affected in the presence of a mental illness. Did you know that your immune system can also be affected by a mental illness? Studies have shown that people under chronic stress are more susceptible to viral illnesses, such as the common cold and flu. Why does this happen? Chronic stress decreases the chemicals released from our non-specific immune cells, and as well as our antibody-producing cells. And this, therefore, when they go down, or susceptibility to infection increases. So chronic stress, because it produces an inflammatory state, contributes to the inflammatory processes, and these two can affect how well our immune cells work. Or reproductive system, for example, it's not exempt, and the effects on men and women can be different. Depression, for example, may be associated with absent or irregular menstrual cycles or very painful period or changes in cycle length. It can be associated with a decreased sexual desire for both men and women, and stress can also negatively impact a woman's ability to conceive. It may also impact the health of our pregnancy, and a lot of us are aware of postpartum depression, which is also a mental illness that may affect a woman after giving birth. Males, on the other hand, chronic stress or mental illnesses can result in decreased testosterone production, resulting in a decline in libido or erectile dysfunction, or may lead fully to impotence. Chronic stress can also negatively affect sperm production and maturation and result in difficulty in couples conceiving because of a mental illness. The truth is that mental maladies will impact our physical health. And if you haven't experienced it personally, you can relate to somebody who has had that impact on their physical health. Because like we said at the start, there is no health without mental health. And our reference, the Bible, takes us right back because it always consoles us and puts us in that place of understanding. In Isaiah 41 verse 10, the word of God says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." The truth is that you are not alone. And if we are not careful enough to guard our mental health, then by virtue of not guarding our mental health, we are putting our physical health at risk. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility that once we have knowledge, we apply this knowledge to improve our quality of life. Guard and preserve your mental health, and this will also improve, guard, and preserve your physical health, because there is no good health without mental health. I thank you for listening. It's been my pleasure for sharing, and I look forward to sharing with you on future occasions. Thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of day, afternoon, or night. Bless you.